If you're single and feeling lonely because all your friends are in relationships or married, I want you to actually just like sit with the emotion of loneliness instead of running away from it just for a few minutes. Because how often have you actually sat with the emotion of loneliness without distracting yourself by scrolling through social media or watching Netflix or texting a friend or just going to the gym, like literally just sitting in it, not trying to resist it and feel better automatically. Loneliness is a very uncomfortable emotion, especially when you feel like everybody else around you in your circle is not lonely because they have a partner. But emotions are messengers and they're also meant to be felt. So if you push down the emotion, it's just going to pop back up like a damn whack-a-mole. So instead of pushing it down, lay down, put your hand over your heart and just feel it. Let the emotion rise up. Tell yourself, I'm feeling lonely and this sucks. Be really honest with yourself and sit there at least for a few minutes and then allow yourself to get up and move forward.
Brothers, why do the majority of these messages not align with the reality of the problem? You see these women preaching about finding inner peace, working on oneself, and waiting for the man you deserve. However, all we see is that they are lonelier than the noonday sun on a cloudless day. Why don't they say, go out with the average guy, lower your standards, stop chasing the top 20% of men, quit dismissing men for trivial things like height, stop thinking you're the last Coca-Cola in the desert, learn to be feminine, and go on coffee dates with no expectations just to get to know the man? You don't hear them say that because, for women, that's seen as settling for the minimum. They want a man who is already built, where they only have to bring their presence. Many buy into this message, end up alone by 30, and you know what they encounter at that age? The wall, because the wall doesn't forgive. Yet, we still hear that single women are the happiest in the world. But I want you to see what a single woman does in her day in the next video.
Maybe the reason we've been able to identify male loneliness is because we haven't been able to identify female loneliness. Because the only time that a woman does not have to perform is when she is alone. So instead we have these romanticized versions of this female depression because a woman would rather be depressed than observed. But we don't identify this as a female depression because women only know that version of themselves when they are alone because they're isolated. But because they are alone and not performing, they think that is the most true version of themselves. And if we do know this subconsciously, that we're experiencing this depression because of our isolation, because we don't want to perform, we realize we would rather be depressed than fulfilled, because in order to be fulfilled, we will have to be observed. But we also know we will not be able to be fulfilled as long as we are observed. Girl, philosophy. Help.
Brother, what this woman is saying is that the reason men realize their loneliness is that women are constantly preoccupied with men. They all talk negatively about men to boost their egos. Another thing is, as you saw with the first girl, they always wear makeup to conceal their depression because, brothers, women are the #1 consumers of antidepressants and the #1 in seeking therapy. This same woman is one who attacks men for dating younger women when they have money, all because she knows so much about men as she is always focused on them. Another thing that has been observed in recent years is the increasing number of households with pets, be it dogs or cats. During this time, more people have these animals, especially women with their cats. They have replaced motherhood with caring for a cat. That's why you see them sad after the age of 30. Their primitive instincts, their biological clock, urging them to become mothers. That's why they take so many antidepressants after 30, because the pain of not having a family becomes a heavy burden, especially when you know you're facing a wall that, no matter how much you complain or get angry, you can't move.
nothing a man should fear more than a woman who's comfortable being alone. You are now competing with me. You're not competing with other guys. I am good being alone. I am fine. So you have to be better than me. You have to make it so that I want to be with you instead of being with me. How are you going to do that?
Maybe this is too niche. Maybe it's not. I don't think it is. But it's a beautiful day outside today. It's literally 70 degrees. It should not be 70 degrees in February where I live, but that's another video. But it's beautiful outside today. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat my lunch. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to sit before my next class. It's going to be good. I get outside and I look around and I realize I am quite literally the only person sitting by myself. It just made me so sad. Sad to the point where I got up and I literally went inside and I felt like I couldn't enjoy the stunning day that it was today because I was like, I'm so fucking sick of doing stuff by myself. And I don't really feel lonely except in instances like this. And I think this is why my anxiety and my depression actually is worse during the summer, because I find that during the summer, for whatever reason, I'm always by myself. I have friends. Don't get me wrong, my friends are incredible. I love my friends. They're like my sisters, but they have lives and I feel like I don't. Anytime you see me out, 90% of the time, I am by myself. I go to the store by myself. I walk to class by myself. I sit by myself. I'm always alone. And it never bothers me really until it slaps me in the face that oh shit, everyone else is with somebody. Be it platonically, romantically, whatever. And I'm by myself. Sitting outside today, that was a perfect encapsulation of my entire life. Everyone was sitting with someone and I was literally the only person sitting alone. And in that moment, it just made me so fucking depressed. It made me so sad. And I've had the same friend since high school. And obviously we were in high school, we saw each other every day. And I texted my friends and I was like, you guys, I miss seeing you guys every day so bad. And every time a beautiful day comes around, I'm like, I wish I had someone to go on a walk with. I wish I had friends that I saw more often. I wish I had a boyfriend so fucking bad, you guys. I don't know, but it made me really upset and I literally got up and I went inside because I was like, this is so fucking embarrassing. So anyway, I don't know if you relate. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I hope you don't, because honestly, this feeling is really fucking depressing.
Brothers, the girl who says that men have to compete with her is one of those women who bought into the idea that she has to become the man she would like to marry. What happens when a man sees a woman like this? He backs away. It's a problem. He knows that this woman will be difficult to handle, that she will be dominant, that she will live in constant competition. Men are avoiding chaos in their lives. Many women are being affected by this radical feminism, messing up the love lives of many women who see that they are never chosen by a man. They end up alone. Look at this girl. She wants to go out, be with her partner, do couple things, but she's alone. As I said before, you can have the biggest house, travel, go shopping, do all these things, but when you do them, you're always alone. It's boring. She went outside. What did she notice first? Every woman there had her man by her side, and she was just there, breathing, seeing that it's only her and her shadow. Brothers, this is what happens as you approach 30 because it gets worse.
Has been on my mind a lot recently because I've realized that every single girl I know in my life, every woman in her 20s that I know, has been feeling lonely lately for some reason. And the reasons are all different, whether they moved somewhere new and they feel like they have no friends there, or they got into a relationship, or they got out of a relationship, or they're single and they haven't found their person yet, or they just had a baby and they feel lonely as a new mom, or they can't get pregnant and they feel like their friends are all moving on to a new stage of life, and da-da-da-da-da. There are a million different reasons why you could feel loneliness. I think it's especially more prominent in your 20s, and especially in your mid-20s, because that's really when you start trying to figure out who am I, what am I doing, what do I believe in, who do I want to be, what is my future. And those can all be very overwhelming thoughts. And then when you add in these other elements of being in a different stage of life than your friends, or again, not feeling like you have super close connections in your life or something like that, or if you have a strained family relationship, anything. It can all just add to so much stress and anxiety and overwhelm. And really the only reason I'm making this video is to like say that you are not alone at all if you're feeling like this. And I don't think there's necessarily a solution, but I just think it's like helpful to know that so many other girls and other women around you are feeling the exact same way. Even these girls that you see on social media and you think they're thriving and their lives look amazing and perfect and it looks like they have so many friends, I promise you they probably also feel very lonely in some aspect of their life. And I think that it's almost like very empowering and beautiful to imagine that we all are struggling with like loneliness in some way. It just makes us all feel more connected and like more human, you know?
Brothers, a woman between 18 and 25 feels like she can conquer the world, believes she's in her prime because many men are pursuing her. But when she hits 26 and hasn't seized a beta provider, things start to get a bit ugly because she has to move fast. The wall is coming for her. This is when you see them getting depressed because they start feeling the passage of time, sensing the weight of age. Brothers, unlike men who start their best years after 28, able to choose who to build their life with, women nowadays see their single years. Even the Chad, a man who brings nothing to the table but his seed, can't keep up with all of them. It's not that there are no men, there are plenty, but they are tired of the treatment from modern women. They are tired of being demonized by feminists, tired of being an ATM, tired of being relegated to the friend zone, watching Chad finish the job while they provide comfort. That's why you see so many lonely women. But this is more evident in the West because women in the Pacific are taught to be good wives. You don't see as many of them in their 30s facing these issues because they know how to treat a man, invest in a man's future. They aren't waiting at the finish line for winners. Instead, they choose to build with a man. But I want you to watch this compilation of women hitting the wall, read the messages they post, and judge for yourselves if they are truly happy. I can't help but laugh. So, looking at all of this, at what point did I miss the idea that women are the happiest in the world? Here, we've seen it all, from the divorced woman who couldn't take care of her marriage, a significant cause since 80% of divorces are initiated by women, many deceived into thinking the grass is always greener. We see another who can't find a relationship, others who claim men don't want them because of their age, but they all have one thing in common: they've hit the wall, and the wall doesn't forgive. Brother, work on yourself, focus on improving yourself, buy your house, travel. Outside, there's a world of women wanting to meet a hardworking man of value like you. Despite what she says about men being bad, every time a man leaves the country, he manages to marry someone who loves him, and they don't. So work on yourself because there's always a young girl waiting for a man like you to offer her a good life. Let the wall continue collecting victims because, as I always say, the wall doesn't forgive.
This guy is taking me on a date, and he just casually mentioned he's like 6'7", 6'8", and I was like, Cassie, I'm 6'8", I'm getting a bat boy, like my time has come. And then I was like, let's see how tall that actually is. I'm sorry, what? What am I supposed to do with this?
Things to say to men when they're deeply out of pocket, aside from, shut the fuck up. Do people usually receive that kind of comment well, or are you just experimenting today? Ask them if they have female siblings. Regardless of the answer, how do you feel that's affected you later in life? Sounds a bit convoluted. Once the subject of them being an asshole has passed, bring up a story where another man has treated you very similarly. Watch them step up to the plate to defend your honor. Yeah, I hate when men treat me like that, when they do this XYZ thing that they just did. If you're feeling frisky, why did you feel comfortable treating me like that then? A simple, are you okay? You seem a bit off today. Did something happen? Whether or not they want to accept it, a lot of men that are rude to women just because they're women want a negative reaction so they can further be mad at women for being dramatic and angry all the time. A bit of mercy will disarm them and maybe even make them ask themselves, am I okay? Why am I doing this? Were you trying to be productive just then? I couldn't tell what your end goal was. Did your mom pay attention to you when you were younger, or were you left alone a lot? What were you hoping to compensate for with that statement? You must break your mother's heart. And if all of that fails, of course, there's old reliable, shut the fuck up.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
When I see this type of woman, I understand more and more each day why Jesus taught us to say, deliver us from evil. This is the kind of radical feminist, now called woke, who no matter what a man does, will always find something to complain about. The irony is that they often end up dating equally woke men in an endless cycle of drama. A grounded man avoids these women. Sure, they might have something in intimacy that makes them appealing for a night, but beyond that, it's better to keep your distance. Remember, if you see a pig nose ring and brightly colored hair, it's a giant red flag. Brother, ignore the bad, do good, and keep moving forward. Don't let someone like that cross your path.
So I've seen this trend going around where people take the filters off to show their real face. I always use a filter on my videos because I don't like my skin. I don't like my eyelashes. Even when I've got false eyelashes on, I still don't feel like I really like my face. So I thought I'd do this video, take the filters off. I don't have any false lashes on. I've got mascara on, but my lashes, not very good. I don't have any makeup on. My hair's a bit of a mess. So I thought I'd take it off. Not that I really want to. So yeah. So this is me with no filters on. I really don't like my skin or my lashes, but this is me. I've got 2 daughters, so I want to try and get better with liking how I look. I'm not saying I'm not going to use filters again, but I will try to do more videos, no filters, just me. Be a big step, but see how I get on. So for everyone else watching, it's your turn to do the no filter trend.
Oh, hell no!
Honestly, put it on again. I like this kind of initiative because it's pure gold. This way, the simps who idealize these women with filters start to wake up. Most of these girls on social media always use a filter, which is why when men see them in person, they're shocked to find they look nothing like their photos. Many of them don't even want their fans to take pictures of them on the street because they're afraid their real face will be revealed. These filters distort reality so much that many end up believing they're a 7 or a 10 when in reality, they're a 4 or 5. Then they have the audacity to insult men for being ugly when men aren't the ones using filters. Ironic, isn't it? Brothers, be honest. Give your unfiltered opinion. How do you rate her from 1 to 10? Drop your numbers in the comments.
I'm going to talk more about the boyfriend-girlfriend purgatory and hope. Something that I know you've seen also on TikTok or Instagram or any social media is when you see these men who are doing these grandiose gestures to ask these women to be their girlfriend after date 3, after date 4 of fake love bombing, okay? And they have these bouquets and they put the petals on the floor and it leads to the mattress, you know, in the hotel, and you see the girl just beaming with joy and there's cameras and this and that. You want to hear the hot take? This just tells me exactly what I've been saying. The boyfriend-girlfriend hoax is only for sexual exclusivity. Anytime I see a man who's doing something romantic and it has something to do with a hotel mattress or mattress, anything with a mattress, okay, while he's asking her to be the girlfriend or let's go on a trip, and then you see all the celebrations around the mattress, it's literally what I'm saying. It's not a compliment. When you're dating for a ring, you really start to see things very differently. And I would have friends who would just brag about, look what he did for me. And I'm looking at the roses on the bed. I'm looking at the box of lingerie that he bought her. I'm like, yeah, honey, you're going to have to perform for that girlfriend status that you want so bad. Yeah, girl, perform. Sorry. But like, I want you both to really think about this once and for all, okay? And get your dating philosophy right. Make a decision in this 2024 where you're going to be.
This woman is referring to the Chads, those men who bring nothing to the table but, for some reason, completely fascinate them. How many times have we seen these same women advising others to avoid this type of man, only to run straight back into their arms? It's as if logic disappears the moment Chad enters the picture. She even admits it. These men take them on an emotional roller coaster. They make them work hard to keep them entertained, buying them everything to avoid being bored and leaving. But, as always, there are women who simply can't resist this type of man. A New Year's resolution list isn't going to change that. Let's move on.
Are you going to be roster dating? Or are you going to be the boyfriend-girlfriend situationship, proving yourself sexually and paying for it with your body? I want to know what you're about to do. That actually is between you and God, okay? But you cannot be wavering. Make a decision. I don't just say this stuff to say it. Okay, I say it because I've been through it. I didn't know at one point I was also wavering and I was kind of like, I don't know, can I have a boyfriend? But like, also roster date a little bit later, or like, I want to kind of give him a chance a little bit, but I kind of want to see what's here. No, 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 no. Months were wasted. And guess what? Energy was obsessive over one man. Doesn't make sense. Okay? About is he going to propose? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? Is he? One man's versus over here. When you roster date, you actually see how far men are willing to go to compete for you. It's real competition. This is real life bachelorette stuff right here. Okay? I mean, when I think about the comparison of how far men have gone to have the girlfriend, when they know all it takes is some bouquets, some spoiling, maybe throw some money here, and he has access to all of her goods, it's not a difficult formula. Over here, he has to do more. He has to drive 3 hours to see you. He has to be doing all kinds of sacrifice. Maybe he needs to be buying you furniture for your new apartment. Girl, I don't know. But he has to be doing things he never thought he would do for your affection. Maybe he was a womanizer. Maybe he's used to having sex after, seeing someone for 2 or 3 months in the girlfriend stage. But now he's out here waiting for you. He's doing things he never thought he'd do. While you are dating, you're seeing what's out there and you're not stopping. Make a decision, my girls.
Now, the million-dollar question. Where's the man who supposedly gave her that advice? Because I'm sure this woman is lonelier than the sun at noon. These smoke sellers always throw out speeches pulled straight from their imagination, completely disconnected from reality. Playing hard to get doesn't work. Women who put up too many barriers end up alone because they set the bar so high that no man can reach it. I'm not saying they should give quick access to their bed, but they should lower their standards and stop complicating their lives. Going out with an average guy, accepting coffee dates, and simply getting to know someone without competing with other women for who has the best date would be a big change. But no, they'll always complain about women who do give men access, while they themselves remain single, watching others build a life. And of course, those who demand too much always end up hitting the wall. And as we all know, the wall doesn't forgive.
I was recently tagged in a video talking about how there will never be a lesbian version of Drew and how Drew has been able to amass millions of followers, specifically straight women. I'm sure that there are queer women that follow her too, but I think that straight women are attracted to Drew's content because women feel the weight of men in society. They want to talk shit on men, they want to criticize men, but they also look to Drew as someone who has been able to get a partner and attract a partner that actually brings value to her life. And I think that women are instilled to believe that they also have that hope. Lesbians, on the other hand, have decentered men completely and see men for what they really are because we are not attracted to them, because we do not center them in our life. We do not seek their validation at all at the end of the day. I would agree that straight women may have a harder time relating to a lesbian for that reason, but I might be biased in this perspective, but I look to other queer women to kind of discuss the discourse that is happening in culture, specifically heteronormative culture, because they are not attached to a desired outcome with men. I would argue we need to amplify queer women's voices because of that reason specifically, because it does not carry the hope of finding a romantic partner.
Stop it. Get some help.
So, who sat next to you? I'm guessing another woman with the same rhetoric as you. Brothers, if there's anyone with a clear agenda to spread hatred toward men, it's radical lesbians. We see this in countless videos flooding social media. Almost always, the women who criticize men the most belong to this group. Feminist marches are full of them because they find the perfect environment there to attract young, impressionable girls. They use rhetoric filled with hatred toward men, trying to radicalize these young women and, in many cases, emotionally manipulate them to bring them over to their side. They talk about empowerment but use it as a tool for their own interests. What's worse is how this worsens when married women, frustrated in their marriages, become easy targets for these movements. These women are pulled away from their families while being radicalized. Why so much hatred? Because these women attack anything that contradicts their narrative, especially those who have a healthy home with a stable man. That's the real enemy of their propaganda. Brothers, these are dark times to be a man.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm 33 years old. I'm a new grad ER nurse and mom. I'm here to share my story about my divorce in hopes to help somebody that's going through the same thing get through it. I figured before I shared about my actual divorce that I should probably take you back to my childhood. I was born to a 19-year-old single mom. My dad wasn't around, and then he eventually ended up passing away when I was 7. There were a couple men in my childhood that tried to be my dad, but nobody stuck around. Eventually, my mom thought she found the one and finally got married and had 2 more children. But of course, he cheated and left. So I think it's fair to say that I might have had some daddy issues. I grew up in a neighborhood that had tons of kids, and I ended up falling in love very young. I was engaged at 22, married by 24, and had my daughter at 25. I was then divorced at 27. Also, if you are an ER nurse or know anybody that is an ER nurse, you need this sweatshirt. It's so cute. And you know that the ER is freezing. This is it. I linked it below. Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm 33. I'm a nurse in the ER, and I'm sitting at work about to go in, and I decided that it's time to share my story. The primary goal of sharing my story is to hopefully help somebody that's going through something similar get through it. 5 years ago, I was told by my husband that he loved me, but he wasn't in love with me and he wanted to get a divorce. This is the man that I was with since middle school, and we had a 2.5-year-old daughter. Of course, feeling like this came out of nowhere, I asked why, and he simply said he's never been alone and he wanted to be alone. Now, ladies, you know that feeling in your bones? I had that feeling in my bones that he was not telling the truth. I spent the next couple of weeks trying to figure out what I did wrong and why he wanted to divorce me. Oh, girl, did I find out the dirt. All of it. Stick around because it's going to get juicy.
Brothers, Jackie's story tells us a story that seems like a red flag warning manual. Daughter of a single mother who never had a present father, she was raised in an unstable environment, seeing several men pass through her house, all temporary. The paternal figure, which is essential for a girl's emotional and psychological development, was replaced by a revolving door of unfaithful stepfathers. The saying never fails. Those who do not know their history are destined to repeat it. Here we are, seeing how Jackie followed the same pattern. She got married at 24, had a daughter the following year, and by 27 she was already divorced. Her trajectory is a testament to how single mothers, by not showing their daughters a stable model of partner selection, perpetuate a cycle of bad romantic decisions. Oh, and what is even more revealing? She studied nursing, a profession known, according to certain studies, for its high rate of infidelity in relationships. But, as she herself says, there is more story to tell. Let's hear her version of the divorce.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm a 33-year-old new grad ER nurse, and I am sharing my divorce story to hopefully help somebody that's going through something similar get through it, because you will. This brings me to the year before he told me, I love you, but I'm not in love with you anymore. We were camping seasonally at a campground. We had bought a brand new camper. We had a toddler. Everything was good, decent, normal, 2 years almost of marriage, going through the toddler stage. I was working full time. Things were okay. Not great, but okay. We were home that night and I was laying on the couch and he came into the living room and sat on the chair that the dog was on. And I thought it was funny that he sat in the most uncomfortable space, but wouldn't come and lay with me on the couch. So I was like, hey, I'm here. You can come snuggle me. And he just then looked at me and said, no, I want a divorce. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. It was literally a moment in my life where time stood still. I thought I was in a dream. It was the strangest feeling. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. And I was like, wait, what? Did I just hear that correctly? He said, yeah, I want a divorce.
Before we can discover in the next video, I will say that being married to police officers, firefighters, or hospital personnel are some of the most stressful marriages there are, where you will spend the least amount of time with your partner. I don't know what the reason is, but I've already been told that this man was tired of this. But let's continue.
Of course, my first question was why, what was going on that I was unaware of. And he just said that he's never been alone and he wanted to be alone. Well, obviously, if you've never been alone, you probably don't want to be alone. I spent the next 24 hours crying. I don't think I ever cried so much in my entire life. I was 27 years old with a 1.5-year-old waitressing. I didn't know how I was going to make it, how my life was going to look like without being married. But ladies, we are capable of anything, and I will show you that over the next couple of videos.
As you surely noticed, the part where all the blame will be on him has not appeared, and we will call him the abuser. She ends up as the victim. What I do see is a man who was clearly unhappy in this relationship. An emergency room nurse works between 8 to 12 hours in rotating shifts, apart from weekends as holidays. I'm not saying this is his case, but I can assure you that this man does not spend much time with this woman, which leads the man to get tired of this relationship. But let's continue to see what happened.
I love you, but I'm not in love with you, and I want a divorce. Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm a 33-year-old new grad ER nurse telling you about my divorce story in hopes to help somebody else that's going through something similar get through it, because you will. To say the next 3 weeks were difficult is an understatement. It was right around the holidays, and I really wanted to make it work up until the holidays. So just for time frame, it was the beginning of November. So I had asked him, I understand that you want to get a divorce. We don't have any reasoning yet, but can we make it work until after the holidays for our daughter? He said yes, and we agreed to stay in the same house until after Christmas and New Year's. But we all know with divorce, things don't go as planned. My mental health was suffering, and with no answers, I was losing my mind. So I ended up moving out on my mom's birthday into her basement and shared the basement with my brother and my daughter. Only a week later did I get a Facebook message from a friend from the campground that we were staying at. He pretty much said, hey, we need to talk. So I called him, and he told me, I spoke to my daughter last night, and she told me that you and your husband are getting a divorce, and her and your husband want to be together and they're in love. Whoa, wait a minute. Stick around, there's more.
Hey, bro. What? Oh, my God!
Before anything, I will say that I do not defend infidelity from any side, but the story gets interesting. Apparently at the camping trip where they had gone was where this man met the other woman. Surely from what I can see he was unhappy in the relationship, but clearly cheating is wrong. It gives me some laughter because when women are in the same position, the reason they give you is that she deserves to be happy and that she grieved in the relationship. Apparently this man did the same, but let's continue.
I love you, but I'm not in love with you, and I want a divorce. Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm a 33-year-old new grad ER nurse, and I am sharing my divorce story in hopes to help somebody that's going through the same thing get through it, because you will. How I confronted my husband about his infidelity. So after receiving the phone call from this girl's dad, I then talked to her mother. And then I also talked to her. So I gathered all my ducks in a row before I took the information back to my husband. I was staying at my mom at the time, so I went back to the house to grab a couple things, and I said, I found something that I've been searching for the past couple of weeks. And of course, his face kind of lit up like he thought I was saying something positive. And he said, oh yeah, what was it? I said, well, I found out the reason why we're getting a divorce is because that you are in love with somebody else. Of course he denied it, and I told him that I had spoke to her dad. He said he's lying. Then I told him I spoke to her mom. He said, no, she's lying. Then I pulled out my phone and said, but I spoke to her too, and I scrolled through the text messages. At that point, he knew his goose was cooked.
Damn! I think that more than missing that moment, he felt true terror. I imagine the gavel of the judge went through his head. How he will lose everything in the divorce. Yes, you separate in a normal way. Let's say you already lose 50% of all your assets. With infidelity, well, say goodbye to everything, because the judge already sees her as a victim. Now seeing a woman with a daughter, a nurse who was cheated on, brother, this man is really screwed. But for her, in the end, everything has turned out well, it seems. She is a divorce coach currently. Let's see the last parts.
After I confronted my husband about his infidelity, I decided that I was going to live a life for me and my daughter. Hi, my name is Jackie. I'm a 33-year-old new grad ER nurse, and I'm here sharing my divorce story in hopes to help somebody that's going through something similar get through it, because you will. I'd say that the next year was the hardest for me. Not only did I have the feelings of being replaced, I got to actually witness it firsthand. It wasn't very long before he was fully with this girl. So during pickup and drop off, I got to see their relationship flourish. We had been talking about buying houses for years, but in that year before our divorce, we were looking at houses, and one in particular that we really loved, one of our friends owned, and they ended up renting it when they got together. It was a hard time for me. I was living in my mom's basement, waitressing, going to school full time, taking on the entire financial burden of our daughter, but I just kept pushing through. No matter what BS they handed me, I dealt with it because I knew slow and steady would win the race. I went on to get a job in the emergency department, one of the departments that I've been wanting to work at for the longest time. I got accepted into nursing school. I worked through my trauma and I started living the life that I've always wanted to live.
A few moments later.
The feelings that come after divorce or after your partner tells you they don't want to be with you anymore are devastating. It is indescribable. You have all these emotions, feeling like you're not good enough, like you could have done something more. Maybe I could have cooked better. Maybe I could have kept the house cleaner. Maybe I could have smiled more or been less stressed out. I had so many thoughts as to what I could have done to be a better wife and a better mom, and why I was being replaced by somebody else. And really, that's not the case at all. I know that I am good enough. I know that I am worthy of love. I am worthy of somebody that's going to treat me the right way. And I'm very, very lucky that I found that. Sometimes these things happen to really get you out of a bad spot and put you into some place that you're really supposed to be. I thought that he was my person, but I soon realized he was not.
In the end, everyone is happy. Now you are a divorce coach and speaker, carrying a positive message with your pain. Because you did not go through a divorce, you were going through a business process. Now you are better than ever, right? It is the same story over and over again. I must say that this man did it wrong in cheating on his partner, but before discovering the deception, he took a step forward with the divorce. He communicated, "I am not happy. I love you, but I do not love you." If she did not discover it, they would divorce without more, but she discovered what he did wrong. But even so, the end was the same, the divorce. He was determined that was going to happen. What he did not tell us is how the assets were divided. She surely kept all the custody, something very normal. Apparently, they did not have a house together. They are of those who rent, a strategy that many men are using today, but she is happy, she says it herself. She can follow the destined path that her mother left her. In the end, brothers, what do you think of this story?
Put a finger down if you want on a date with a guy that you met at the gym and he takes you to Dave & Buster's and he's super sweet and nice and respectful. If you go on a second date with him, he takes you bowling. Super fun, sweet, nice. Date ends early. He doesn't want to stop hanging out with you. You don't want to invite him back to your place, but you willingly go to his place, even though you don't really know him that well. And you're sitting at his place next to him in the dark. And you guys are talking and you having a taser comes into conversation and he tells you to tase him. And you're like, what? And he tells you, tase me, I don't feel any pain. And you're like, what do you mean? Were you not born with any pain receptors? And he goes, no, I was. I'm just a celestial, so I don't feel any pain. And you're like, come again? What does that mean? And he tells you that a celestial means that he is an angel in a human's body. And you're like, okay, is that like the TV show Lucifer? And he goes, oh yeah, they just didn't get everything right. And you're like, what do you mean they didn't get everything right? And he goes, Lucifer actually goes by Satan. And that the daddy issues part is real. And you're like, oh, okay, so you guys are brothers? And he says, yes. And then you ask him if he has wings and if he can fly. And he says, yes. And you're like, okay, can I see them? And then he goes, well, I can't pop them out on command, but if we go to a rooftop, I can show them to you. And then the first thing that comes to your mind when he says that is that he is going to himself, you, or the both of you. So you're like, no, thank you. Then he tells you that he's not actually 25, that he was born in the time AD. You know, there's BC and AD. He was from the time AD. So you're like, oh, okay, so you're like 2,000 something years old. And he's like, yeah, I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around there. So you're like, okay. Then he tells you that if you guys had a baby, that baby would be a celestial. Then he tells you that he was brought on this earth to protect you specifically. And then he says that you can become a celestial too, and then tries to bite your arm. Then he tells you that he's going to get in big trouble for telling you all of this because you're not supposed to know this because he's supposed to be the angel protecting you.
Hey, bro. What? Oh my God!
I highly doubt the authenticity of this story. First, because I don't believe that this girl, with her looks and her life on social media, would go out with just any guy from the gym. This screams Chad from a mile away. The kind of guy they know won't commit, yet they still give their time to him anyway. The second reason I doubt it is this. If you take a look at this girl and see how great she looks, knowing she's got that blue app, and this guy on a second date managed to get her to his place, I highly doubt that what he wanted was to sit around talking about how he's an angel. Come on, give me a break. This story is so unbelievable even you can't buy it. But let's keep going.
And then he makes you promise not to tell this story to anybody. He tells you, he pinky promises, but while he's telling you, he starts laughing and he says, before you even tell anyone, I will already know. And that creeps you out. But you're like, okay. And almost forgot to mention, anytime that he was telling you and talking to you about this, he was getting really close to your face, and it didn't look like him. It looked like an actual demon. Anyway, he takes you home, and he shows you, pulls out a triangular knife. The blade is triangular, and there's a red rope wrapped around the handle. And he tells you, want to take a guess who gave me this? And you say, oh, Satan. And he goes, yep, he gave this to me to protect me from his demons. And you're like, oh, I thought you guys were buddies. And he goes, no, yeah, but his demons like to not listen to him. And you're like, okay. You go home, and you know you're never going to see this man again, ever again. A week later, you decide to tell your best friend. And as soon as you tell her, he calls you up. And he just says, hey, how are you? How have you been? What's up? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Okay. Right? Then you tell another friend a few days later, and he calls you immediately after you tell that story. Same thing. Hey, how are you? How have you been? Mind you, he never calls you, ever. A few months go by, and you're on FaceTime with your mom, and you're telling her this story, and you're on the 26th floor, and it's nice, it's clear skies, and a big cloud just comes surrounding your floor-to-ceiling windows apartment, and only on your floor. Right? Then a few more months go by, and you get invited to a gym opening, and this is the pre-opening. They're only inviting influencers. He is not an influencer. You're at the gym pre-opening. You're telling one of your friends this story. 5 minutes later, he walks up to you, comes out of nowhere, walks up to you, says, hey, how have you been? And walks away. And a year goes by, and you go on a date with another guy, and you go bowling, and this reminds you of this guy, so you tell him the story of what happened, and as soon as you tell this story, the machine in your bowling lane stops working, and the guy you're on a date with freaks out, and he leaves. And now, anytime you tell this story, something always happens.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
How exaggerated. But at the very least, she must have cursed you. If anyone actually believes this story, believes in this whole thing about angels and demons, leave me a comment. If there's a woman out there who thinks this story is true, leave me a comment, because I'm not buying it. What definitely happened here was a lot of action, because no woman who looks like this girl on a second date would be in a situation where, no matter how much of a simp the guy is, he wouldn't at least try to make a move. But let's keep going.
This is an update to my crazy dating story. Yes, I am okay. Nothing that weird has really happened. The morning after I told the story, there was a rainbow that showed up on my floor when I woke up. Then this thing appeared on my window.
I get an energy from you that like I don't get from like all people, you know? When you walked in, I was just like, wow.
Like, how does an insect that small make it up so high up? I don't know. Also, yes, this is a true story. It's not a book that I read or a movie that's coming out. I wish it was. The reason why I didn't block his number right away was because I think I was in kind of a shock. I like couldn't believe what was just told to me. It took me a while to kind of process it and be like, wait, hold on, this is a messed up. Like, this is not normal. This is crazy. Because he was such a nice and respectful guy. Like, this man was in the military. He would feed the homeless like several days a week. He was a personal trainer. Like, he was very nice and like he seemed like a good guy. I guess I don't know where that came from. He is blocked on everything now. And a lot of people say that he probably tapped my phone, and maybe he did, but I've gotten a new phone since a few months after that happened, and then the gym story happened with my new phone. The one where I told my friend in the gym and then 5 minutes later he shows up. I haven't seen him in like a year. Hopefully I don't ever see him again. Yeah, that was it. Oh, and this did happen in LA. I guess that's why they call it the City of Angels.
Stop it. Get some help.
After going out with him, smearing his name seems more likely to make him show up again. Although, as I said, this girl always has some fantastic story to tell. Check out her next story.
I didn't think that I was gonna make this video, but I feel like I just have to speak up on what happened and what is happening with the US justice system, because I am so fucking speechless right now. And I apologize if I cry during this video, but I have been keeping this in for 2 years and I can't do it anymore. I was sexually assaulted 2 years ago by a couple of guys that I thought were my friends. I didn't know them for that long. I was drugged and I was raped. I was on my period when this happened, and I had a tampon in, and when I woke up the next day, completely unaware of where I am or what happened, I was completely naked from the waist down, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what happened, and then when I went to the bathroom and I couldn't find my tampon, I immediately knew what happened, and I was not okay. I spent the whole day at the hospital getting exams and tests and talking to doctors and the police, and they found the tampon jammed up inside of me, and I had a bruise on my arm, and I had a detective, and I had to hunt him down every time to get an update on the case because nothing was being done. After 2 years, he couldn't find the guy. Like, what do you mean you can't find him? He's on social media. What do you mean? You're a fucking detective. How can you not find him? And I was tired of waiting and not getting justice. So I hired a very, very, very good criminal defense lawyer. And I worked with his bounty hunter. And he did everything he could. But the DA said that they don't think this was great. They think that what happened was completely consensual.
Look, this is complicated because, while what she says could be true, we also have to carefully analyze the context. We're talking about a situation where the police, despite all their shortcomings, take these kinds of accusations very seriously. In fact, with just a simple accusation, even without strong evidence, a man can be arrested immediately. This raises the question, why, after 2 years, has the case not progressed? If the system is as flawed as she claims, how is it that someone with physical evidence still hasn't received justice? Now, here's the key detail. This girl isn't just anyone. She's an influencer known for the provocative content she posts, and we all know her audience is predominantly male. What's the purpose of uploading that kind of content? We know what sells, and unfortunately, that complicates how the case is perceived. As my professor used to say, you are what you sell. I'm not saying it couldn't be true, but when you choose to present yourself in that way, the line between who you are and what you represent becomes blurry. Let's move on to the second part to see how this unfolds.
They think it was completely consensual, even though they saw how I was. They saw my reaction. There was a tampon jammed up inside of me. There's all these proofs, and the DA will not take this case to court because they think it was consensual. And there is nothing that can be done. Nothing. I can file a civil case, that's it, but I can't file a criminal case. This fucking man gets to walk free and do this to other women, and I have to sit here and suffer with PTSD still to this day, even after going to therapy. I can't even have my own sexual relations because I get fucking triggered. I get triggered, and I get an attack. I really thought that I was gonna get justice on this. I really thought that this man was gonna be put behind bars and I was gonna get justice and I was gonna feel okay. But I can't believe how shitty the U.S. justice system is. How can they let this happen? How can they let a man who fucking rapes women free? I don't know what to do. I don't know what else to do. So I just wanted to tell my story about what happened and how shitty the U.S. justice system is because they have to fix this. This is not okay. This is not consensual. And I am so traumatized from this situation and I can't even get justice from it. I don't know what else to do. Yeah, I don't know what else to do.
As I mentioned earlier, it's not about being insensitive, but this raises a lot of questions. She herself admits that she knew her attacker. She even says, "A couple of guys I thought were my friends." Now, I have to ask, what kind of people do you have around you? What signs did you ignore to end up in a situation like this? We're not blaming her, but it's important to analyze the environment and decisions that lead to these circumstances. That said, I want to open up the debate. Men, what do you think about this story? Does it seem consistent to you? Women, do you believe her account? I'm interested in hearing different perspectives to enrich this conversation. And if there's any law enforcement officer watching, it would be great to understand how the police handle these cases and whether your experience confirms or contradicts what's being presented here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, here are some questions for you. What do you think about this girl's story? Do you believe the justice system in the United States is broken? If you enjoyed the video, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. I'm also leaving you 2 videos about modern women who made terrible decisions. We invite you to share your comments. See you in the next video of The Wall.